Picture a city kissed by the golden light of a setting sun, its marble columns rising like silent sentinels against a sky streaked with amber and rose. Rome, the eternal heart of an empire, stretches before you, its streets humming with the rhythm of life, the clatter of sandals on worn cobblestones, the laughter of merchants calling out their wares, the faint scent of olive oil, rosemary, and freshly baked bread drifting from bustling markets. In the cool shadows of grand palaces where torchlight dances across polished stone walls, whispers weave through the air, secrets of power, of betrayal, of a young man destined to become one of history's most enigmatic figures. Who was Caligula truly? Was he a tyrant consumed by the flames of his own ambition, as ancient scribes would have us believe? Or was he a soul shaped by tragedy, caught in the crucible of an empire's expectations, his truth buried beneath layers of rumor and myth? Was he mad, as the stories whisper, or simply misunderstood, a man whose dreams outran the world he sought to rule? Tonight, as you settle into the quiet embrace of the evening, let your mind drift. Let your breath slow and wander with me through the mists of time. Together we'll unravel the untold story of Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, known to the ages as Caligula. Close your eyes if you wish and let the sounds of ancient Rome envelop you. Hear the soft rustle of silk robes brushing against marble floors, the distant strum of a lyre weaving through the night, the gentle splash of fountains in moonlit gardens, their waters catching the silver glow of the stars. Let the weight of the day slip away like sand sifting through your fingers as we step softly into the past. Picture the grandeur of Rome's palaces, their halls alive with flickering light, their air heavy with the scent of jasmine and myrrh. Are you ready to uncover the secrets of an empire, to drift through the life of a man who shaped history even as it shaped him? Then let us begin, gently, slowly, as the world fades and the story unfolds. In the year 12 AD, beneath a warm Mediterranean sun, a child was born on the shores of the Tiber where the river's waters shimmered like liquid glass. His name was Gaius, but to those who loved him, he was a boy with bright eyes and a heart full of wonder. Born into a world of splendor and shadow, the son of Germanicus, a general whose name was a beacon of hope across the empire, and Agrippina the elder, a woman of fierce intellect and unyielding spirit, Gaius was cradled in the arms of Rome's most powerful family. Can you see him? A child toddling through dusty military camps, his tiny feet wrapped in miniature soldiers' boots, Caligulae the Romans called them, earning him the nickname that would echo through the centuries, Caligula the Little Boot. Imagine the scene. Encampments sprawled along the banks of the Rhine, where the air carries the scent of leather, pine smoke, and roasted meat. Tents of weathered canvas stretch across the horizon, their flaps swaying in the breeze while campfires cast a warm glow against the twilight. Soldiers, their faces etched with the hardships of war, pause to smile at the boy who darts among them, his laughter a bright note against the clink of armor and the low murmur of strategy meetings under a starlit sky. Gaius, barely able to form words, reaches for the swords of legionaries, his small hands grasping at hilts too heavy for him to lift. The men, hardened by battles in distant lands, kneel to ruffle his hair, offering him bits of bread or carved wooden horses, calling him their mascot, their little soldier, their Caligula. This was no ordinary childhood, for Gaius was no ordinary child. He was a Julian descended from the divine Julius Caesar, whose legacy was both a crown and a chain. The empire's eyes were upon him, even in those early years, watching, waiting, wondering what this boy would become. The camps were alive with the pulse of life, the crackle of fires, the neighing of horses tethered nearby, the rhythmic chant of soldiers drilling in the dawn's light. The air was thick with the scent of earth and sweat, of wax-polished shields and freshly baked flatbread shared among comrades. Yet beneath the camaraderie a current of danger flowed, for Rome was a city built on conquest, and conquest bred envy, ambition, and betrayal. Can you feel the weight of that world? A boy surrounded by love, yet standing on the edge of a precipice, his future uncertain, his destiny vast. But Rome was not a gentle place for dreamers. The imperial court was a labyrinth of ambition, where loyalty was as fleeting as the morning mist over the Tiber. Gaius's father, Germanicus, was a hero to the people. His name cheered in the Forum, his victories sung in the streets from the hills of Hispania to the sands of Syria. He led armies across the Rhine, his banners fluttering in the wind, his soldiers chanting his name as they marched through dense forests and over rugged hills. His triumphs were Rome's triumphs, his glory the empire's pride, yet heroes in Rome often met tragic ends. When Gaius was just 7, his father fell ill, his strength fading like a candle caught in a sudden gust. Whispers spread through the court. Poison, they said, ordered by those who feared Germanicus's power, his popularity, his potential to outshine the emperor himself. Can you feel the weight of that loss? A boy standing by his father's bedside, watching the life drain from a man who seemed invincible. Gaius clutched his mother's hand, his eyes searching for answers in a world that offered none. The palace, once filled with the warmth of family, grew silent, its halls echoing with the footsteps of mourners draped in dark cloaks. The air was heavy with the scent of myrrh and burning laurel, offered in vain to the gods for Germanicus's recovery. Agrippina, proud and defiant, refused to bow to grief. Her voice was sharp as she accused those she believed responsible. Tiberius, the emperor, whose jealousy cast a long shadow over the empire. But accusations were dangerous in Rome, and Agrippina's courage came at a cost. Tiberius, brooding and suspicious, ruled from the Palatine Hill, his palace a fortress of marble and intrigue, where every word was weighed, every gesture scrutinized. His reign was marked by fear, his eyes seeing threats in every shadow, his ears hearing plots in every whisper. Agrippina's defiance made her a target, and soon the family was torn apart. Gaius's mother was exiled to a barren island, her voice silenced, her body left to wither under a relentless sun. His brothers, Nero and Drusus, were imprisoned, their fates sealed in dark cells far from Rome's light. Picture the loneliness of that boy, surrounded by opulence yet haunted by loss. The palaces gleamed with gold and alabaster, their gardens blooming with roses, lavender, and oleander, their fountains murmuring softly in the twilight. But for Gaius they were a prison, their beauty a cruel reminder of what he had lost. A father's laughter, a mother's embrace, a family whole and unbroken. As you listen, let your breath slow, let your body sink deeper into rest. Picture young Gaius standing by a window in one of those grand palaces, watching the Tiber flow past, its waters catching the light of a fading sun. The city beyond was alive, merchants haggling over silks from the east, priests chanting in temples where the air was thick with incense, chariots rattling over cobblestone streets, their wheels kicking up clouds of dust. the scent of fresh bread mingled with the tang of the river, cool and eternal, while the distant cry of gulls carried over the rooftops. Yet for Gaius, the world was a puzzle, its pieces scattered, its meaning elusive. He learned early that power was a double-edged sword, that love could be a weakness, that trust could be a trap. Let these images drift through your mind, soft and fleeting, like clouds on a summer breeze, as we move deeper into the story, deeper into the past. The Rome of Gaius's youth was a city of contrasts, where beauty and cruelty walked hand in hand. Picture the Palatine Hill, its palaces rising like white cliffs against an azure sky, their courtyards filled with the scent of jasmine, myrtle, and the faint sweetness of ripening figs. Statues of gods and emperors lined the halls, their marble faces serene, their eyes seeming to follow those who passed. The air was warm, heavy with the perfume of flowers and the faint tang of smoke from sacrificial altars, where priests offered lambs and doves to appease the gods. Yet beneath the grandeur, danger lurked. Tiberius, now old and reclusive, had retreated to the island of Capri, ruling from afar, his paranoia casting a long shadow over the empire. His court was a place of whispers, where loyalty was a mask and betrayal waited in every shadow. Can you see Gaius, now a young man of 20, stepping onto that island? His features were sharp and striking, his eyes carrying the weight of his family's tragedies, yet bright with a spark of defiance. Capri was a dreamlike place, cliffs plunging into turquoise waters, gardens blooming with roses and oleander, the distant cry of gulls blending with the strum of a lyre played by a servant in a shaded courtyard. The villas were opulent, their walls painted with scenes of myths, nymphs dancing, gods battling, heroes triumphing. Their floors were inlaid with mosaics that shimmered in the sunlight, depicting dolphins, stars, and the endless sea. Yet Capri was a gilded cage where every word was measured, every glance scrutinized, every smile a potential trap. Tiberius was a man of contradictions, brilliant yet cruel, wise yet consumed by fear. His villa on Capri was a fortress of pleasure and paranoia, its terraces overlooking the sea where waves crashed against jagged rocks far below. The halls were filled with philosophers debating the nature of the soul, poets reciting verses of love and war, and spies listening for any hint of disloyalty. Gaius learned to navigate this treacherous world, his smile a mask, his words carefully chosen, his heart guarded against the pain of his past. He dined with the emperor, sipping wine from silver goblets, tasting dishes of roasted pheasant and figs drizzled with honey, while the scent of myrrh lingered in the air. He listened to Tiberius's tales of Rome's glory, nodding at the right moments, laughing when expected, all while hiding the grief that still lingered. The loss of his family, the weight of their absence. Can you imagine the tension of those days, the effort to please an emperor whose moods shifted like the sea, whose laughter could turn to rage in an instant? Gaius walked a tightrope, his every step a calculation, his every word a shield. The island itself was a paradox, by day a paradise where the sun warmed the cliffs and the air was filled with the scent of salt and pine. By night, a place of shadows where torches cast flickering light on stone walls, where whispers carried secrets that could destroy lives. Gaius learned to listen, to watch, to adapt. He laughed at Tiberius's jests, bowed to his commands, and buried the anger that simmered within. Some say he learned cruelty in those years, his heart hardened by the need to survive. Others say he learned cunning, his mind sharpened by necessity. Perhaps both are true, for the human soul is a complex thing, shaped by both light and shadow. As you rest, let these thoughts drift like waves against the shore, their rhythm steady and slow. Picture the cliffs of Capri, the sea stretching endlessly before them, its surface catching the light of 1,000 stars. The air is cool now, carrying the scent of lavender and salt, the sound of waves a gentle lullaby. There's no need to hold these images, just let them pass as you sink deeper into the story, deeper into peace. The years on Capri were a crucible, forging Gaius into the man who would one day rule Rome. When Tiberius died in 37 AD, the empire held its breath, waiting to see who would claim the throne. The air was thick with anticipation, the streets of Rome buzzing with voices, the temples filled with offerings of incense and laurel. And there, stepping into the light, was Gaius, Caligula, now 25, his name cheered by the crowds, his face radiant with promise. Can you hear it? The roar of the forum, the chants of Gaius, Gaius echoing through the streets, the scent of burning incense rising from temples as the people welcomed their new emperor. The city was alive with color, banners of crimson and gold fluttering in the breeze, musicians playing flutes and drums, children running through the crowds with flowers in their hands. Gaius rode through the city in a golden chariot, his purple toga billowing, the air alive with the scent of roses tossed by adoring crowds. He was young, charismatic, the son of the beloved Germanicus, and Rome saw in him the promise of a golden age. He vowed to heal the wounds of Tiberius's reign, to restore the empire's glory, to bring back the days of peace and prosperity. Picture the scene. The Palatine Hill aglow with torchlight, its palaces filled with the sound of laughter and music. Gaius opened the granaries, letting grain flow freely to the people, easing the hunger that had lingered under Tiberius's rule. He lowered taxes, easing the burden on merchants and farmers. He pardoned those exiled by the old emperor, their return marked by tears and feasts. The people wept with joy, believing their savior had come. The temples glowed with offerings, the air thick with the scent of myrrh, laurel, and burning cedar, as priests chanted prayers for the new emperor's reign. The streets were a riot of celebration, dancers twirling, poets reciting verses, the scent of roasted chestnuts and fresh bread filling the air. Those early months were a dream of prosperity. Imagine the Circus Maximus, its stands packed with cheering crowds, the air alive with the thunder of hooves and the scent of dust and sweat. Chariots raced, their wheels flashing in the sun, their drivers urging their horses to victory while Gaius watched from a golden throne, his laughter mingling with the roar of the people. At night, the palaces came alive with feasts, tables laden with roasted peacocks, figs drizzled with honey, pomegranates bursting with ruby seeds. Wine poured from silver urns into goblets that gleamed in the torchlight. Musicians played, their lyres and flutes weaving melodies that drifted through the halls, while dancers moved like shadows, their silks catching the light. But power, dear listener, is a heavy cloak. It dazzles the eyes, warms the heart, but its weight can crush even the strongest soul. Gaius's generosity was boundless, his dreams vast. He built aqueducts to bring water to the city, their arches rising like giants against the horizon, their channels carrying life to Rome's heart. He constructed temples to honor the gods, their marble columns gleaming in the sun, their altars piled with offerings of flowers and incense. He commissioned ships that sailed the seas, their sails emblazoned with his name, their holds filled with treasures from distant lands. Yet the treasury dwindled, its coffers emptying faster than they could be filled. The Senate, once grateful, began to murmur. Gaius's laughter, once a joy, grew sharp, his decrees unpredictable. He mocked the old ways, challenged the traditions that held Rome together, his voice carrying an edge that unsettled those who heard it. Was this the act of a madman or a man desperate to leave his mark? Historians like Suetonius and Cassius Dio, writing years later, would claim his generosity was a mask, hiding ambitions too vast for Rome to contain. They tell of a man who declared himself a god, who demanded worship from his subjects, who spoke to the moon as if it were a confidant, his voice soft and strange in the night. Yet others argue he was simply a young man, thrust into a role no mortal could bear, his heart torn between the desire to be loved and the need to be feared. Can you imagine the weight of that crown, the loneliness of a throne where every advisor hides a motive, every friend a potential enemy? The palace was a world of its own, its halls filled with the scent of myrrh and sandalwood, its walls adorned with frescoes of gods and heroes, its floors cool underfoot. Yet it was a lonely world, where trust was a luxury Gaius could not afford. As you rest, let these images flow gently like a river through a quiet valley. Picture the Rome of Gaius's reign, its markets bustling with traders from distant lands, Egypt, Persia, the far reaches of the east. Their stalls are piled high with silks that shimmer like water, spices that fill the air with warmth, amber beads that glow in the sunlight. The air carries the scent of fresh bread, of roasting chestnuts, of the river itself, cool and eternal. The temples echo with prayers, their altars smoky with the offerings of priests, their statues gazing down with serene marble eyes. Yet in the palace the mood grows darker. Gaius surrounds himself with flatterers, men who feed his ego while plotting behind his back. He speaks of divinity, of being more than a man, his words unsettling those who hear them, his laughter carrying a note of defiance. The tales of his madness are many, and they drift through history like smoke on the wind. They say he built a bridge of boats across the Bay of Baiae, riding across it in triumph, as if defying the sea itself. Picture it, a flotilla stretching across the water, its planks swaying with the waves, Gaius at its head, his chariot gleaming, his cloak catching the wind, his soldiers cheering as the sun glints off the sea. They say he ordered statues of himself placed in temples, demanding worship as a living god, his image carved in marble and gold, his eyes staring out from sacred spaces. They say he made his horse, Incitatus, a senator, draping it in purple cloth, feeding it oats from golden bowls, its stable adorned with ivory and pearls. Can you imagine the absurdity of it? A horse prancing through the Senate, while Rome's noblest men looked on in silence, their faces masks of disbelief or fear. Yet historians like Tacitus urge caution, their voices calm and measured across the centuries. These tales, they say, may be exaggerations, woven by enemies who sought to tarnish Gaius's name. Perhaps the bridge was a symbol of his ambition, a way to show the world that Rome could conquer even the sea. Perhaps the statues were a nod to tradition, for emperors were often deified after death, and Gaius, young and bold, sought to claim that honor in life. Perhaps the horse was a jest, a way to mock the Senate's pomposity, to show that loyalty could be bought as easily as a title. The truth is elusive, slipping through the centuries like sand through an hourglass, leaving only fragments for us to piece together. What is certain is that Gaius's reign grew turbulent. He spent lavishly, his projects draining the treasury, his spectacles dazzling but costly. He built aqueducts that stretched across the hills, their waters flowing to Rome's fountains and baths. He constructed theaters where actors performed under starlit skies, their voices carrying tales of gods and heroes. He staged games that drew crowds from every corner of the empire, the air alive with the roar of lions, the clash of gladiators, the scent of dust and blood. Yet these triumphs came at a price. The Senate, humiliated by his mockery, grew restless. His temper flared, his words sharp, his actions unpredictable. He clashed with the old families, their pride wounded by his disregard for tradition, their power threatened by his ambition. Was this madness, as the ancients claimed, or was it the strain of power, the isolation of a man who could trust no one? Imagine ruling an empire where every smile hides a dagger, every friend a potential betrayer. Picture Gaius walking through his palace, its halls filled with the scent of myrrh, its walls adorned with frescoes of gods and heroes, its floors cool underfoot. Servants move silently, their footsteps muffled by Persian rugs, their eyes averted. Senators whisper in corners, their voices low and urgent, their hands clutching scrolls or hidden blades. The air is heavy with intrigue, the weight of an empire pressing down on a single man, his heart torn between fear and defiance. As you listen, let these questions float gently like petals on a quiet stream. There's no need to grasp them, just let them drift. As you sink deeper into the story, deeper into rest. By the year 41 AD, the air in Rome had grown heavy with unease. Picture the city at twilight, the sky streaked with crimson and gold, the Tiber reflecting the last rays of the sun. In the palace, Gaius moved through marble halls, his laughter echoing, his steps quick and restless. The scent of jasmine lingered in the air, the sound of fountains a soft counterpoint to the tension that hung like a storm cloud. The whispers had grown louder now, no longer confined to corners, no longer hidden behind false smiles. They spoke of rebellion, of senators and guards who had tired of their unpredictable emperor. Can you feel the tension? The way the air seems to hum with secrets, the way eyes meet and then dart away. Gaius perhaps sensed it too. He surrounded himself with loyal guards, their armor gleaming, their faces stern, their hands resting on the hilts of their swords. But loyalty in Rome was a fragile thing, bought with gold or fear, and neither lasted forever. On a quiet January day, as he left a theater, the daggers came. Picture the scene. A narrow corridor, its walls cool and smooth, the flicker of torchlight casting shadows that dance like specters. The Praetorian Guard, sworn to protect him, turned their blades against him. The steel flashed, swift and silent, and Gaius fell, his blood staining the stone, his eyes wide with surprise or perhaps relief. His reign, so bright, so brief, ended in a moment of brutal clarity. The empire paused as if drawing a breath. The streets of Rome fell silent. The markets hushed. The temples empty but for the murmur of priests offering prayers for the fallen emperor. Some wept, remembering the young man who had promised so much, who had ridden through the city in a golden chariot, his smile bright, his dreams boundless. Others rejoiced, believing the empire free of a tyrant, their voices rising in the forum, their hands raised in thanks to the gods. The palaces stood as they always had, their marble gleaming under the moon, their gardens heavy with the scent of roses and oleander. But the laughter of Gaius was gone, replaced by the murmur of a new emperor, Claudius, stepping into the light, his steps tentative, his reign uncertain. Who was Gaius in the end? A monster, as his enemies claimed, his every act a sign of madness. A visionary, crushed by the weight of his own dreams, his ambition too vast for Rome to hold. Historians still argue, their voices blending with the dust of centuries. Suetonius paints him as a tyrant, his stories filled with tales of cruelty and excess. Tacitus, more measured, suggests a man overwhelmed by power, his flaws magnified by the throne, his heart shaped by loss and betrayal. Modern scholars wonder if he was a reformer, his bold ideas misunderstood by a conservative Senate, his actions twisted by those who wrote the histories. Perhaps the truth lies not in the stories, but in the spaces between them, in the heart of a man who loved Rome, yet could not escape its shadows. The story of Caligula is a tapestry woven with threads of glory and tragedy, truth and myth. Picture Rome in the days after his death, its streets quiet, its people uncertain. The Tiber flows on, its waters catching the light of a new dawn, its surface rippling with the reflections of temples and palaces. The markets begin to stir, the scent of fresh bread and roasting chestnuts filling the air, the voices of merchants rising once more. The temples echo with prayers, their altars smoky with offerings, their statues gazing down with serene marble eyes. Gaius's name remains, a whisper on the wind, a question without an answer. What can we learn from such a life? Power, perhaps, is a mirror, reflecting both our strengths and our flaws. Gaius was a man of contradictions, generous yet cruel, visionary yet reckless. He dreamed of a Rome greater than any before, its aqueducts stretching across the hills, its temples shining under the sun, its people united in pride. Yet his dreams outpaced his means, his ambition outran his wisdom. He sought love, yet inspired fear. He craved trust, yet found betrayal. He was a man like any other, shaped by loss, by ambition, by the weight of a crown too heavy for one soul to bear. As you rest, consider this. Perhaps he was not so different from us. A soul navigating a world of beauty and danger, seeking meaning in a life too brief to hold it all. The Rome of Caligula's time fades now, its colors softening, its sounds growing distant. The fountains still trickle, their water catching the starlight, their murmur a gentle lullaby. The gardens bloom, their roses heavy with scent, their petals falling softly to the earth. The city belongs to memory now, its stories carried on the wind, its secrets held close by the gods. Let those memories wrap around you like a warm blanket as you drift closer to sleep. The secrets of Caligula, of Rome, will wait for another night, another dream, another journey through the mists of time. And so, dear listener, we leave the eternal city, its marble gleaming under the moon, its rivers flowing through the ages. Rest now, knowing that history holds its mysteries close, revealing them only to those who listen with a quiet heart. Sleep deeply, dream softly, and let the echoes of ancient Rome guide you into the night, where the stars shine bright and the world is at peace.